Hey Super Gamers, it's Super Effective here, and I'd like to take a moment to shed some light on a game that definitely deserves your attention. I'd like to talk about Dungeon Defenders 2. If you enjoyed the first one, this sequel is a worthy successor that improves on what worked and is expanding on a number of areas that I feel are in the right direction. And if you enjoyed other cooperative tower defense games like Sanctum or Orcs Must Die, then this will be right up your alley. But for the uninitiated, the Dungeon Defenders series is a tower defense action RPG, and the sequel will be free to play once released. You can create a hero that levels up as you defeat your enemies. This will quickly unlock a unique selection of abilities to use and towers to build. You use these to aid in your defense against an evil horde on a variety of scenarios, all wrapped up in a colorful and playful aesthetic. In familiar tower defense fashion, you use the collected resources from the start of each round and from the enemies you defeat to manage your towers. Choosing which tower to place, where to place them, and which to upgrade and repair forms the foundation of your defense strategy. Each hero has access to 4 types of towers which do their jobs well enough alone, but only when you start using them in tandem with different towers, then can you experience the satisfying benefit of Dungeon Defender 2's combo system. For example, you can start a combo by having an enemy trigger a Huntress's Geyser Trap, which will briefly knock them up into the air and drench them with water. While the enemy is in the air, they can be shot by the Monk's anti-air tower for massive damage. Once they land, the drenched enemies can still be electrocuted by the Monk's lightning aura for a greater stun. Heroes wielding weapons with elemental traits can also help set up combos. In addition to leveling up your hero, you can expect other favorite RPG activities, like searching for epic loot and upgrading your equipment, which will make up for most of your hero's bonus stat points. Dungeon Defenders 2 used to have a typical skill point system, but has now turned into what they call a skill sphere system. As your hero levels up, you can purchase skill sphere slots with in-game gold. These slots come in a number of different sizes to denote their significance on your gameplay, such as small spheres, which add base stat points, medium spheres, which boost secondary bonuses like movement speed or EXP gain, large spheres, which enhance your playstyle, for instance, making the Huntress's Geyser Trap add a damage multiplier, or alternatively, gain a damage bonus the further the Huntress attacks with her bow. And finally, Uber Spheres, which noticeably augment the behavior of a tower, but I'll save those for you to discover on your own. These skill spheres and your accumulated equipment can be swapped out if you wish to specialize your playstyle without the need to make a new character. This actually brings up a good point. Trendy, if you folks could consider allowing players to quick swap equipped items, it would make managing builds a lot easier. As you progress through the game, you will notice enemies are visibly more badass in addition to being tougher. Some of these enemies have unique abilities that will have you quickly rethinking your defense strategy. This is especially true of the epic boss battles who are larger than life. Dungeon Defenders 2 allows up to 4 players to play cooperatively and is a blast playing with friends. But while the game can certainly be played with less players or even solo, it can be noticeably more challenging and at times overwhelming. Fortunately, players can create multiple heroes to swap with between waves to make up for it, allowing you to make use of all the towers you have access to. This will make a noticeable difference when you account for each tower's strengths and utilizing combos. Just be aware that you need to have an online connection to play this game in either case. Most environments have secondary objectives to defend, which can encourage you to spread out your defenses. You won't lose if they are destroyed, but protecting them will prevent extra enemies from pouring through. You can also take advantage of the environment aside from the usual choke points. Almost all maps have some kind of booby trap that when activated will deal massive damage, debuff, or slow enemies in a small area, and others have passive effects like waterfalls, which will drench enemies. Well, that should cover most of the gameplay, but I know some of you have issues about games that have a free-to-play or early access labels on them, as there seems to be an endless supply of them on Steam, so let's discuss those points. Free-to-play is often abused in many games when they try to monetize activities which are designed to compel you to pay by creating a roadblock in your gameplay session. Such examples include limited lives or energy per day, locking out content behind a paywall, or making the progress so grindy and unrewarding that players would have to invest a solid week just to keep up. Fortunately, at the time when I created this review, this is not the case for Dungeon Defenders 2. as the only things that you can purchase with premium currencies are cosmetic costumes and extra large inventory space. Trendy Entertainment has a written statement on the Steam store page which vows that in-game purchases will, quote, never grant gameplay advantage, ever were serious, end quote. And they appear to be holding up their end. The standard and purchase costumes each have cosmetic items within them like helmets, chest plates, gloves, and leggings, which are earned through gameplay to pimp out your hero. One unique thing is that some of these items have visuals that can be leveled up when you wear them while playing, which will unlock additional cosmetics within that line. This is a pretty awesome way to reward a dedicated player's vertical progression without affecting level cap. There are daily missions you can choose for small rewards, but there are also challenging gameplay modes that will test your skills for greater rewards like badass loot and cosmetic items. I recommend that Trendy Entertainment consider implementing limited time events which will reward players for participating in testing new content and mechanics, as this would draw in new and returning players and make the game feel fresh and alive. Dungeon Defenders 2 is currently on early access on Steam. You can always check the Steam store for your country's pricing. Keep in mind that Steam sales and 4-pack bundles can provide nice discounts, and purchasing early access will give you exclusive goodies and equal value of in-game premium currency. You should only consider early access if you're passionate about the game and want to invest in this important development stage. But if you're undecided or strapped for cash, you can always wait until it's free to play. Here's a little bit of history on the Dungeon Defenders 2 franchise that I think you'll be interested in. A long time ago, Dungeon Defenders 2 was to be made into a MOBA type game in the wake of that genre's popularity as a result of the direction that Trendy Entertainment's previous president wanted to go. But fortunately, under new leadership, everything is shaping up, since they wisely decided to stick with the tower defense formula that gave the game its identity. The first Dungeon Defenders was quite successful, but it did suffer from a large accumulation of DLC packs, which made it difficult or intimidating for new or returning players to remain competitive. Now with Dungeon Defenders 2 going free to play, players could potentially access all of the content as the game evolves, regardless of when they start or return. This is assuming Trendy Entertainment keeps within a good free-to-play model, which encourages players to support the game's development through the purchase of things that enhance one's enjoyment and avoids any abusive microtransaction practices that would alienate the player base. Things like cosmetic goodies, color customizations, or small conveniences like exchanging premium currency for in-game currency or rushing crafting timers are fine, just so long as a player who doesn't partake in these activities can play comfortably, complete the same task within a respectable amount of time, and can access new content without being locked behind a paywall. In conclusion, I hope Trendy considers some of these points, which should certainly make Dungeon Defenders 2 worthy of your attention, and I hope you will at least keep an eye out for when it launches. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you all on the next Respawn.
There we go.
Special thanks goes out to Andrew for being my very first Patreon pledger.